For personalised, private, no waiting, in-home care. rightathome.com.au. This is Without Bias on SEN.
Hello and welcome to Without Bias right here on 1116 SEN, your home of sport. Val Febbo with you for Bowls Australia and Right at Home, the Right Care Right at Home, Australia's premier in-home care provider. A big show tonight with the Australian Open coming up on Saturday. It is going to be an amazing 2 weeks on the Gold Coast and we can't wait. Barrie Lester's going to join us a little later on to talk about it. And someone who has won the event probably about 1,000 times across various different disciplines and 2 Player of the Tournament awards is Kelsey Cottrell, Right at Home Jackaroo. She joins me on the line now. Kels, welcome to the show and a little happy birthday from last week as well.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I had a great birthday, actually. Surprise, surprise. I spent it on the bowling green. But, I was actually down at Yamba Bowling Club about just over 2 hours south of the Gold Coast, playing with some of the girls from Helensvale. And the members were so lovely. I was sung happy birthday twice, and I got a birthday cake. I'm not sure if I would have got that at home.
I'm sure Andrew Howie, who is Bowls Australia's events manager and doing a good job with the AO, but I'm sure he would have done something, surely.
No, I definitely got home Sunday night and the kids had organised cake. So they, definitely don't miss an opportunity for cake in our house.
No, for sure. Well, I'm glad you had a great birthday and it's hopefully going to be a great fortnight for you coming up at the Australian Open. How much do you enjoy when the event starts, someone that has had an abundance of success with it?
Yeah, you always get excited leading up to the Australian Open. The draw comes out. That's the first sort of exciting thing, working on what days you're going to be playing, what venues you've been drawn at. And then, and then you just sort of count down the days, I guess. For the girls, we start a little bit later. The guys get to kick things off on the weekend with their singles. And then I've got my first days not till Tuesday. I'm playing pairs with Lindsay down at Coolangatta.
Oh, so that's a bit of a hike for you. That's probably the most south that you can go from where you live around Helensvale. But it is a beautiful club. We stayed near there for the Nationals last year, so it's a great little spot. And you and Lindsay, I must touch on that because you two have won the event, on double figure occasions, which is quite astounding, really, that 2 people could have so much success at one event. So how much do you enjoy playing with Lindsay in the pairs, considering, how long the 2 of you have known each other, which is over 20 years now, but, the fact that you've shared so much success together?
Yeah, we've shared lots of success, but I suppose we've also shared a lot of disappointment too, and because we're such great mates, we sort of get over it pretty quickly and back up for the next event. But always have that great time, always have great road trips down. So 45 minutes in the car with Lynn's on the way down. I'm sure we'll talk a lot of rubbish. We enjoy each other's time on the green. We play a lot together, so we know each other's games. There's just a real mutual respect. We know what we're both capable of. Makes the shot calling and the tactics of the game a lot easier when you know you play like the back of your hand.
Yep.
Really looking forward to that. And then I think I've got singles at Broadbeach the next day, I think the Wednesday. And then fours, I've been drawn at Helensvale. Yes, just around the corner. So a nice short trip to Helensvale on Friday to play with Lynn, Anne Johns and Rebecca Van Ash. So the 4 of us are very close. We've been best mates for many years and played lots of Australian Opens together. And it's kind of like our reunion every year that we get together and get to play that event.
One of the awesome foursomes of the AO, and you've won that event many, many times. But I want to ask you now, last year, it was an interesting one because I was speaking with Lindsay and she said that you and her had their every single campaign ended by the eventual champions of the tournament. So, when you look back on that, does that sort of give you confidence? It's like, all right, you know what? Yes, we didn't win, but it took the champions to get us or get me in every single one of those events. So that must give you a little bit of confidence going into what is probably the biggest event of the year.
Yeah, I think so. She's good at her stats. I didn't even know that. I think it's just good you just want to make it deep into the event. If you can do that, then, you're a 50-50 chance. If you play well, obviously you increase your odds. But just always looking to got to get through that sectional day. Sometimes that can be the hardest because you may not have put a bowl down for a little while. It's the first day. You sort of need to find some rhythm. And then if you can get through those sectional days and make it into the second week, I think that's when we really back ourselves, because we know by that second week we're probably playing a lot better than we were in that first week, and we feel confident of beating anyone that we come up against. But always, obviously we always respect our opponent and know that, if we don't bring it, we probably will get beat. But I think last year, I'm trying to think now who we played. Can't even remember who we played and where we played. But that's a good start, I suppose, that it took the best to beat us. So that gives us a lot of confidence going into this year.
Yeah, so the pairs, I think, was Ellen and Chrissy. And then the fours...
Right, quarterfinal,
Yep, the fours was the Canadian team with Louise Cronin as well. And then the singles, obviously, the final. But your singles record at the AO is quite outstanding. To make 3 finals in a row is almost unheard of. It doesn't get done, really. So what's your key to being such an accomplished singles player? Because it is so difficult mentally to try and, keep focused, because it is only you out there. You don't really have anybody else to bounce off. So what's your key to prolonged singles success?
Look, I think for me, my single success has always come from my first 2 bowls. And I think that just comes from years of being a lead. So I always just try and, win those games by outdrawing my opponents with those first couple of bowls. And then, if they do manage to get it back, you've only got to play a couple of big ones to, get the end back in your favour again. So, I think for me, it's just, it's probably just my draw play. Just outdrawing my opponent, and end after end, there's always going to be a couple of bad ends that get thrown in there, and just forget about those ones and move on. I think I don't know. I just love playing the AO. I love playing singles because I have had that success, and probably you obviously remember the ones that you win, but years later you appreciate the ones that you lose. I'd sort of forgot that it had been 3 finals in a row, but I think about the people that I've had to beat to get to those finals. I think I've always seemed to play really well when I've got to that kind of round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final. I seem to really, I've played against really tough opponents. Most of those games have been against Australian Jackaroos, and that's probably where I've played my best in the tournament, just leading up to those finals. And now for me, if I can get there again this year, it's just finishing it off and having a really good final this year.
Well, yeah, that semi-final against Dawn Heyman last year was one of the best matches I've ever watched. That was insane, and Club Helensvale was raucous for you at the end of that when you won 21-20. But what would it mean to you to win a third AO singles title? Because only Aaron Sheriff and Natasha Van Eldik have achieved that in their careers. So what would it mean to you to stand up alongside them?
Oh, yeah, I think it would be massive. There's something about it. I think it's because it's on the Gold Coast as well. When you do make those finals, it's great because, might be able to, have the kids there, and even, looking back on other events like the World Championships, all that stuff being on the Gold Coast. And I think it's great when it's close to home and you can have that family and friends there supporting you. It makes it extra special, and it's the ones that you look back on and you remember more. So it would be great. And I guess as well, having the home ground advantage of Helensvale always hosting that kind of Wednesday, that Super Wednesday, that kind of quarterfinal, semi-finals day. I know that if I can just do everything I can to get to that day, then I'll feel confident that I can play well at Helensvale, which is what's helped me, I guess, in the last couple of years, that I have been able to play really well at home with all that home support. In those sort of quarters and semis. I recall, obviously playing against Dawn and Jamie Lee and Brianna Smith. I've kind of, Kira Burke, I've kind of copped all of them in that kind of, round of 16 quarterfinals. But because it's been at home, I felt really confident that I could get the win.
Yeah, that is one of the great days, the final Wednesday at Helensvale. It is awesome. The drama, the narratives that come from it are absolutely wonderful. And one final one, the Gold Coast has hosted the Australian Open now for 10 years. This is its 10th year on the Gold Coast. You live there now, so what are some of the recommendations that you've got for people that are heading up and might want to do some of the sightseeing around the Sunshine City?
Oh gosh, there's so much to do. I'm probably useless to talk to because I only do stuff that involves the kids. When we finally have a weekend off and we say to the kids, all right, what do we want to do? The weather's good. We're not staying inside. It's like the number one rule in my house. As soon as the weather's good, we're out the door. So what do we want to do? And it's always Movie World,
yep.
SeaWorld, Paradise Country. I know there's just lots of beautiful beaches, lots of great parks for the kids. So if anyone's traveling up with kids, there's like that Southport Broadwater Parklands is just beautiful. Like the kids can, run amok there, and it's just beautiful watching all the boats and that come in. But yeah, if you want to go inland, go hinterland. There's heaps of cool like bushwalking trails. Go looking for the waterfalls at Springbrook National Park. Go up to Tambourine Mountain. That's kind of up my neck of the woods. Linz and I live kind of just at the bottom of Tambourine Mountain. So yeah, we often kind of go up there on a Sunday afternoon. There's some cool places like the cheese. I think it's called the Cheese Factory. There's a few nice pubs and cafes and stuff up Tambourine Mountain. So I don't know. There's just so much to do on the Gold Coast. And we're probably the ones that live here probably don't enjoy it as much as the visitors because we always, sort of tend to be working or playing bowls.
It's always the way. People ask me that about Melbourne as well, and you're like, oh, hang on, what have I done recently that's touristy? And there's not much. But no, Kelsey, looking forward to seeing you up on the Gold Coast. It's going to be a wonderful event. Good luck with everything, and fingers crossed we can see you up on the top step of the podium in one of the 3 events, if not all 3.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to another great event. Win, lose or draw, it's such a fun event. Lots of exciting things to look forward to the next couple of weeks.
Kelsey Cottrell joining me on Without Bias. Great to hear from her, and she's made the last 3 singles finals at the Australian Open. Can she do it again in 2025? We'll find out in just a few days' time when the AO kicks off on the Gold Coast. Plenty more still to come here on Without Bias. Barrie Lester, former Jackaroo and 2-time AO champion, is going to join me to chat about his favourite memories of the tournament and a little bit more after this.
For personalised, private, no waiting, in-home care, rightathome.com.au. This is Without Bias on SEN.
You're listening to Without Bias here on 1116 SEN, your home of sport. For Bowls Australia and Right at Home, the Right Care Right at Home, Australia's premier in-home care provider. Val Febbo with you. A big thank you to Kelsey Cottrell for joining me on the show just before to talk about the AO and her aspirations of yet another title. And a man that has won the Australian Open twice, once in pairs, once in fours, and many other medals around the nation and the world is former Jackaroo Barrie Lester. Baz, welcome to the show, and you must be absolutely pumped for another Australian Open.
Yeah, it's all come around pretty quick, Val. We spoke about it last year after the last AO came to a close, and we spoke about 20 years of Australian Opens, and yeah, it'll be 20 consecutive for me, and yeah, proud to be involved in so many, and love seeing the event grow strength to strength over the years.
Before we get to the AO, Baz, I want to ask you about your new role at Club Kawana. You've been there for a month, and how's it all going up on the Sunshine Coast?
Yeah, when I heard wind that Jeremy Henry was potentially taking on the role and eventually did take it, I mean, he's one of the biggest names and greatest players to ever play the game. Moving up to Queensland, which strengthens the state, and to coordinate here at Club Kawana, I was pretty keen to see where the club was going, and Jeremy reached out and said there's going to be a full-time coaching role and some sort of marketing and PR work. And yeah, I was really keen to have a chat. I've been out on my own the last couple of years running my own business, and it's good to be back in clubland and part of a really strong club with big plans moving forward. And yeah, I'll coach all players. We're going to do a lot of disability work, a lot of community engagement work, and run a really good junior academy. So coming off the back of state champs last few weeks, they walked away with a heap of state titles, so they'll feature heavily at the National. So it's just about getting the club on the map and helping the grassroots part of Kawana and the surrounding suburbs and areas grow and have bowls be a strong area of the community.
Amazing. And your coaching business as well, Blessed Coaching, is going very well. You've had a couple of overseas tours already. You're in Tasmania, you're in Victoria, and you're going to the UK later on this year as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Val, I guess a couple of years ago I went out and sort of built a brand and built a coaching business, which I absolutely love doing. And yeah, I've been lucky now to travel sort of all around Australia doing it. I went over to New Zealand last year, worked with Bowls Auckland, and that was an absolute honour working with their centre teams. Trip over to Hong Kong a couple of months ago, and they've got some big plans and some great some funding and assistance off the government. And yeah, off to the UK, 5 weeks time, mate. Initially, it was just sort of an idea and a dream to go and see a golfing major, the Open Championship. So. And I thought, well, I'd love to, expand my business and do some clinics over there. So at this stage, I've got clinics lined up in Wales, England, Ireland, and Scotland, and get to sneak on over to the Gulf for a couple of days and check out, hopefully, another Aussie like Cam Smith did a couple of years ago, take out the British Open, mate.
How good. That sounds like a sports fan's dream, my friend. So, yeah, enjoy that and hopefully it all goes well. But going back to closer to home, the Australian Open, we've had many chats about the magic of the AO over the years and what makes it so special, because it is truly one of the great events on the Australian sporting calendar.
Well, you see players, I think of a Nathan Pedersen, the list is so long of players that sort of were out playing decent bowls or maybe decent club bowls or, local rep stuff, and they come to an AO and they can make a name for themselves, and they don't necessarily need to be a high rep player. So I love that component. I love the component that, it's a random draw. You can play against the world champion or a Commonwealth Games player or something in a sectional play. And the fact that anyone and everyone can put their name down. I love the story of the Siteman's. They come over from Canada. This year we've got a big contingent from Malaysia and Hong Kong and so on. So I do love the fact that basically it's an unofficial world title, and I've said this and I'll say it forever and a day. It's the hardest title in the world to win, and not only you got to play so many games across so many disciplines, but you got to do it in all the conditions. You expect a bit of wind, a bit of rain, and at the moment, as it is today, it's a beautiful sunny day. So, and you're playing in different clubhouses, so you're going to different greens and so on. So that's the beauty of the game. It is really a huge carnival, and players have to do a lot of time management with their events too, with playing at different venues, getting around, and it's just great to see the Gold Coast absolutely thriving with players from all around the world come to that one central place and playing it. And I've played in a heap of finals, happened to get a couple of medals, but some of my most fondest memories in my career will be definitely playing in Australian Opens and playing with and against some of the best players in the world.
And you've won the pairs and fours throughout your career at the AO, Baz. How much would it mean to you to add another to your list of accolades at the event?
Yeah, it came close in the singles a couple of years ago, made the semis, and I do love the team aspect of the AO or any environment. I do sort of spend more time in that environment these days versus the singles. But if you can ever snag a big title in singles, it's always a great achievement. But for me, to go so close over the years to get another title, making so many finals. But yeah, I'd love to do well with my mate Benny Hubbo. He's a good young talent coming out of Victoria, and then with Aaron Sheriff tees in Wedlock. We won the fours a couple of years ago, and we're usually never too far away, so it'd be good to do well there. I know with it being sort of around that Com Games selection time, the next sort of 6 to 12 months, the boys will be in Aaron and Corey be nipping at the bud to try and get another performance. And so just playing in that calibre. But I looked at my achievements over the years in the Australian Open, and you just look through the list of players you've either lost to or beaten, and a high majority of them are really high quality players. So the fields are stacked full of strength, and if you walk away getting deep into Australian Open or happen to win a title, like I said, you've won an unofficial world title.
Yeah, it's so impressive. And then you look at what Aaron Sheriff has done in the singles over the last 3 years, to win that 3 times in a row is absolutely ridiculous. But for you personally, what's been your most special moment at the tournament? Is it winning with Joshy? Is it winning with the boys in the fours a couple of years ago because it was such an epic final? What's been your favourite moment from the AO?
Yeah, I think I just put the winning with the pairs with Joshy in front of winning with the boys. Even though they're equal on paper and all that, but Joshy, for those that don't know, in 2017 I won with Josh Thornton, who's actually an able and a disability bowler. Josh is missing a couple of fingers on his right hand, and he was that way since birth. And for Josh to win, like I said, pretty much a world outdoor pairs title at the Australian Open with me, and that was a Com Game selection period too. And Josh was making a priority in his life to try and get picked for those games, and we won that Australian Open. And to do it with an able / disability bowler was just unbelievable. And our first Australian Open titles in the able-bodied stuff. And then fast forward a few years later, happened to walk away with the gold in the fours with the boys. We didn't quite sort of be in the team we were going to be for the World Bowls for the initial selection, and we regrouped from that and got together and won that gold. And once again, I just look at the teams you come up against, and they're very fearful pairs and fours. And I know everyone that'll be coming up starting this weekend to the AO, we'll be up against some strong teams. And for my own tip is time management. As I've said before in this chat, Val, it's a pretty frantic couple of weeks, especially if you're getting deep in some events, and just managing that time, knowing you're getting up each day ready to go like it was the last.
And the event in its 10th year on the Gold Coast, Baz, which, you've lived in and you know all about the Gold Coast. You pretty much, well, I'm surprised you weren't voted mayor, but we'll get to that eventually, Baz. And what is it about the Gold Coast that works so well for the AO?
The first one is the weather, and the greens are dormant. So the greens are starting to stop to redevelop and grow. And so the greens will just be the same. They will be for quite a few months. So that helps. And the greens dry out, and they're quite nice when we obviously don't get any rain. And they're always a beauty to play on through the winter months. We're still going to expect mid-20s temperature. I was out walking just the other day, got a bit sunburnt first day of winter up here. So the weather is great. And I think the multifaceted point of view of the Australian Open, where male, female, juniors, seniors, disability, you've got the lot in one spot. And they're all taking in what the Gold Coast has to offer in terms of getting out, nice restaurants, beaches, all the fun parks and stuff. So there's a lot to do in their downtime, because I know a lot of people save up throughout the year, their pennies, and save up their leave to have those unreal couple of weeks away. And they know that they'll try and enjoy as much as they can, not just playing bowls day to day.
Amazing. Barrie Lester, well, good luck with the AO campaigns. It's going to be great to see you back in action, and fingers crossed a couple of deep runs for you. But thanks for joining me on Without Bias, and look forward to catching up on the Gold Coast for the AO.
Thanks, Val. See you soon, mate.
Barrie Lester joining me on the right line. Looking forward to seeing how he goes in his 20th Australian Open campaign. It all starts this Saturday from 9 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time on Bowls Australia's live streaming platforms, and looking forward to seeing how it all will unfold. And it culminates on the 19th and 20th of June at the Broadbeach Bowls Club. So we look forward to having your company. Make sure you are tuning in on BA's live streaming. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be leading you through the commentary, and plenty of other guests along the way throughout the fortnight. But that's all we've got time for on Without Bias tonight. A big thank you for your company wherever you're listening from, and make sure you catch us next week at 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Time on Tuesday night, because of the World Test Championship final. So a slight time change for next week. But this is Without Bias for the Right Care Right at Home, Australia's in-home premier care provider for personalised private, no waiting in-home care, right at home.com.au. We'll catch you next week. Have a great one, everyone.